According to Google, there are over 100 cannabis conferences, that's hemp and marijuana conferences, in 2019 in the United States alone. So there are a lot. With hemp and cannabis surging to become very large and profitable industries, ancillary businesses like conferences are getting in on the action, looking for a huge upside. In the California gold rush of the 1800s, some of the wealthiest people to come out of that time were entrepreneurs who didn't even touch gold, like Levi Strauss, the German-born tailor who built sturdy work pants for the area's workers. Henry Wells and William Fargo opened banking for miners and later created the giant Wells Fargo Bank. And Belinda Mulrooney, who operated construction businesses, restaurants, and sold ladies' underwear to the women in the gold mining towns who paid a premium for her wares. So will we see an entrepreneur coming out of the conference space for cannabis and for hemp, just like we did in the gold rush of the 1800s? We'll see in a few years. While conferences promise many riches on the other side of their magical doors, they can be a hassle. You disrupt your comfort zone to travel long distances with a bunch of people that you don't know. You make family arrangements and try to miss as few birthdays as possible. You raid your closet to try to pack just the essentials. You don't want to dress too fancy, but you don't want to look like you just got out of bed and look like a bum. Fortunately, I only had to drive a couple of hours from Asheville to Charlotte for the Carolina Cannabis Conference for 2 days of learning, networking, and more learning. So here are my takeaways from the event. Within the first 5 minutes of the conference starting, I could feel a huge difference from previous conferences I've attended. This conference was not just about business and profits. For example, the opening keynote speaker was political representative Kelly Alexander from Mecklenburg County. He shared with the attendees insight into the mind of a politician and how you can affect change.
Well, I'm seeing an incredible amount of activism from the producers. You know, up until this year, producers were largely silent and unseen. But when this farm bill came out with its proposed ban on smokable hemp, producers and retailers started realizing that if they were going to keep their industry from being stillborn, they had to show up, they had to be vocal, and they had to let the legislators know that there's a connection between economic activity and their viability as business people.
For the full interview with Representative Kelly, check out the link in the description. The rest of the day featured speakers ranging from hemp dosing experts, hemp tax professionals, how to track your hemp inventory, and even an ex-North Carolina Tar Heels basketball coach sharing his newfound belief in hemp. During one of the speaker presentations, an attendee stood up and made a very profound impression about what he's doing to advance the hemp and cannabis industry. So I had to sit down with this guy, and his name is Mike Sims.
And I immediately went up to Raleigh and realized that no one in the cannabis or hemp industry was being represented at all. I had a chance to speak with some of the legislators and lawmakers personally after the event and being up there and asked them simply, why aren't we getting recognized in this industry? Why aren't we getting the votes we need for legalization? Why are we fighting for hemp flower? And ultimately, we just don't have representation in Raleigh.
Check out the description to watch the full interview with Mike Sims and find out how to join his cause.
Ultimately, when we speak about hemp in the House of Representatives or in the Senate in Raleigh, for the most part, we're speaking to people that do not know anything about this industry or about these products, and they speak about them in a reefer madness kind of style. They do not separate hemp and marijuana whatsoever, and to them, hemp and marijuana is the worst thing that could happen.
After that, more presentations, meeting more cool people from all over the East Coast, more exhibitions, more vendors. And for some reason, one of the things I noticed that there were a lot of CBD and hemp products focused on sexual health. I'm assuming that's a trend right now, but it seemed like it was everywhere. Later on, the commissioner of Mecklenburg County, Trevor Fuller, shared how he was against cannabis reform when he first came into office.
When I was first in office, I came with the views that most other people had, which is, no, we're not going to legalize marijuana. Why would we do that? And kept that view for a couple of years. But when I talked to Representative Kelly Alexander from our General Assembly, and he presented it to me in a way that I said, kind of made me think, especially medical marijuana. Once I started to really look at medical marijuana and started to say, well, why would we keep that from people if it's really helping people and it doesn't have side effects, or at least we can control the side effects? Why wouldn't we do that? And so once you get into that conversation, you start to say, okay, well, what is the difference in terms of how the law should approach marijuana? What is the difference between medical marijuana and using it for other reasons, recreational reasons or other reasons?
And by the way, Commissioner Fuller is currently campaigning for a bid to the U.S. Senate in 2020. Check out the link to his website in the description below. My favorite presentation out of all was that of Dr. Prakash Nagarkati. He's the Vice President of the Research at the University of South Carolina.
And we're also able to show that when you are exposed to certain bacterial toxins like Staphylococcal enterotoxin B, which is considered to be one of the most potent toxins, and when you're hospitalized and you get infection with this, there's production of these Staphylococcal enterotoxin B, and that can cause hyperactivation of the immune system, and it can shut down all the organs. And we found that THC can completely suppress that, and in animals that are treated with these toxins, 100% of them die, but when you treat them with THC, 100% of them survive.
Here's somebody who's been studying cannabinoids for nearly 20 years. He's published over 250 papers on the topic. He speaks passionately about research, not just about his feelings, but solid proof and starting points for further research that's needed about how cannabinoids, how THC, how CBD, and some of the other compounds can really benefit people who are in serious need of a new medicine that's just not available anywhere, or just a better version of a medicine.
So that's truly fascinating for me to show that, that these are such potent, cannabinoids are such potent anti-inflammatory potentially anti-inflammatory drugs.
Originally, when I signed up for the event, I was expecting to come in to this conference to meet a lot of cool people, to check out some new products, maybe some trends that are happening in the cannabis space. I was expecting to learn about maybe some new research that was going on, or networking a little bit. And while I came away with all that, I think the biggest takeaway from this conference was how passionate people are about this topic. And sure, at this conference, everybody or most people were for either cannabis reform, for cannabis legalization, but really whether you're for or against it, there are a lot of very strong opinions about what should be done. And the biggest thing was make your voice be heard and talk to your representative, talk to people in your community, and really try to spearhead how to communicate what you think should be done. Because at the end of the day, right now, this is a national issue that impacts all of us in the United States, and eventually it's something that is going to impact the entire world. It's something that will be really interesting to watch, whichever way it goes. So I hope that you like this video. If you want to find out when we publish new videos, please click the like button and hit the subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.